My parents invited me to a banquet hall to celebrate my promotion after 2 years of no contact. But when I arrived, 23 relatives were already eating prime rib under a banner with my name on it. And my father smiled at the manager and said, "She's paying, obviously. My name is Lena Morris. I was 33 years old, newly promoted to regional events director for a hotel group that hosts weddings, conferences, charity galas, and the kind of family parties where one person quietly pays while everyone else calls it love. I know contracts. I know deposits. I know what a head count does to a bill when appetizers turn into open bar, when coffee service turns into dessert station, when someone says, just put it on the main account, and assumes no one will ask whose account that is. So, when my mother texted me after 2 years of silence and wrote, "We want to celebrate you properly," I should have asked one question before I answered, "Celebrate who?" I did not ask. I drove 45 minutes to the Willowmere Grand, a banquet venue I knew professionally, and walked into the Rose Room expecting dinner with my parents and my younger sister. Instead, I found 23 relatives sitting at 2 long tables covered in shrimp towers, carved prime rib, truffle potatoes, champagne flutes, and a custom cake that said "Congratulations, Lena" in gold icing. My mother cried when she saw me. My sister waved from beside the dessert table. My father stood at the front of the room like a host accepting applause. Then the event manager placed a leather invoice folder beside him, and Dad pointed across the room at me. "She's the guest of honor," he said. "She's paying, obviously. She owes us a celebration." He thought the room would trap me. He did not know I had already seen the contract number printed on the folder, or that I knew the house account rules better than anyone in that building. 15 minutes later, the entire room learned who had really signed for the bill. To understand why my family thought this would work, you have to understand the job they assigned me long before I had a title. I was the oldest daughter, which in the Morris house meant assistant parent, emergency wallet, unpaid therapist, last-minute babysitter, and person everyone praised for being so responsible when what they really meant was convenient. My father, Calvin Morris, owned a used appliance shop for most of my childhood. He could charm a customer into buying a dented refrigerator, then come home and complain that everyone expected too much from him. My mother, Renee, was softer, sweeter, and somehow better at getting her way. She never demanded. She sighed. She never ordered. She wondered out loud. She never said, "Give us money." She said, "I hate that we even have to ask." My younger sister, Tessa, was the dreamer. That was the family word for someone who started things other people finished. Candle business, bridal makeup page, dog treat subscription, mobile flower cart, wellness coaching, all of them announced with excitement, photographed beautifully, and abandoned when invoices arrived. I was not the dreamer. I was the spreadsheet. At 16, I worked weekend breakfast shifts at a hotel restaurant. At 18, I paid half the utility bill after Dad's store had a slow month. At 20, I covered Tessa's car insurance because Mom said losing transportation would crush her spirit. At 22, I skipped a study abroad program to help Dad catch up on back rent for the shop. Nobody called it borrowing after a while. Borrowing has an expectation of return. In our house, money moved from Lena to family, and gratitude moved in vague circles around everyone else. By 26, I was an assistant event coordinator at a downtown hotel, making schedules, calming brides, handling drunk uncles, fixing seating charts, and learning that chaos obeys the person willing to read the contract. I was good at it because my childhood had been one long private event with unpaid vendors and unreliable hosts. My family loved saying I had made it. What they meant was I could afford more. When I got my first management bonus, Mom cried on the phone and said she was proud. Then, before the call ended, she asked if I could help Tessa with a photography deposit for her rebrand. I said yes, because pride felt close enough to love that I paid to keep it on the line. The no contact began with Tessa's wedding business. She had decided to become a luxury micro-wedding planner after watching videos of women arranging flowers in linen aprons. She had no experience, no vendor relationships, and no sense of food safety. But she did have a logo, a pastel website, and a belief that aesthetics were a business plan. She wanted $38,000 to book a showroom, buy inventory, and reserve booths at bridal expos. She said it was an investment. Dad said family should invest in family. Mom said Tessa had always supported me emotionally, which surprised me because I could not remember when. I asked for a business plan. The room changed. Tessa's eyes filled before she spoke. Why do you always make me feel stupid? I am asking normal questions. Dad slammed his hand on the table. You manage parties for a living, Lena. Do not act like this is complicated. That is exactly why I know it is complicated. Mom looked wounded. Your sister is trying to build something beautiful. You could be generous for once. For once, the phrase almost made me laugh, but I knew laughter would become evidence against me. I said I would help her build a budget for free. I said I would introduce her to vendor contacts if she had insurance, licensing, and a real plan. I said I would not give $38,000. Tessa left crying. Mom followed. Dad stayed. You know what your problem is? He said. You think money makes you better than us. No. I think asking questions protects everyone. You protect yourself from family. That was the sentence that became the family headline. Lena protects herself from family. The next day, I was removed from the group chat. Mom stopped calling. Dad ignored my birthday. Tessa posted a quote online about people who clap for strangers but refuse to water their own roots. My aunt commented, "So true, sweetheart. For the first month, I was furious. For the second, I was lonely." By the 6th, I slept better than I had in years. There were no emergency calls, no guilt invoices, no last-minute rescues. Silence, I discovered, can feel like rejection at first and oxygen later. Then came the promotion. The promotion was real. Regional Events Director, 6 properties across 2 states, bigger salary, bigger team, bigger headaches, bigger trust from people who actually read what I wrote before asking me to fix what they ignored. My boss announced it at a staff meeting. My team brought cupcakes. The hotel general manager gave a speech about operational excellence, which sounded boring and felt like sunlight. I posted one photo online because I wanted the younger version of myself to know we had made it. Nothing flashy. Just me in a navy blazer holding a cupcake with too much frosting. The caption said, "New chapter. Grateful for the team." My mother liked it within 12 minutes. I stared at the notification. Her profile picture was the same, her and Dad on their anniversary, smiling in front of a restaurant I had paid for 5 years earlier. Then came her message. "Lena, your father and I have been thinking. Life is too short for distance. We want to celebrate you properly and start fresh. Dinner next Friday at Willowmere. Just us, you and Tessa. No pressure. We miss our girl." Our girl, 2 words and my throat closed. I showed the message to my friend Priya, who managed food and beverage at another property. She read it once and said, "That is not an apology. I know. Are you going?" "I think so." "Why?" That question deserved a better answer than I had. Because I missed my mother's voice. Because Dad used to take me for pancakes after early shifts when I was 16. Because Tessa and I once shared a bedroom and secrets and cheap nail polish. Because a child can outgrow a family system and still ache for the people inside it. But I said, "I want to know if anything changed." Priya sighed. "Then bring a boundary, not a wallet." I wrote that on a sticky note and put it in my car. Bring a boundary, not a wallet. Friday came with rain. I wore black trousers, a cream blouse, and the small gold earrings I bought myself when I stopped paying Tessa's phone bill. I drove to Willowmere Grand with my hands steady and my stomach negotiating with old hope. In the parking lot, I saw 12 cars I recognized. Just us, you and Tessa. Mom had written 12 cars. Hope has a terrible habit of arriving before evidence and leaving after it. Willowmere Grand had 3 banquet rooms, a marble lobby, and a staff entrance I had used during vendor walkthroughs. I knew the building well enough to know the Rose Room was not where 4 people had dinner. The Rose Room held 30 comfortably, 50 if the setup was tight. It had its own bar, private service station, and a minimum spend that started at $4,000 before alcohol. The hostess smiled when I gave my name. Morris event? Event. Not reservation. Not dinner. Event. I smiled back because hospitality teaches you not to bleed in the lobby. Yes. She led me past the bar, down the hallway, and toward open double doors glowing with warm lights and artificial greenery. Before I saw the room, I heard it. My Uncle Dean laughing. My cousin Marla shouting over music. Tessa's high voice saying something about champagne. Silverware. Glasses. Celebration. The banner hit me first. Congratulations, Lena. Gold letters. White background. Balloons on both sides. Under it, 2 long tables were full. Aunts, uncles, cousins, 2 neighbors from my parents' church, Tessa's friend Kayla, a man I did not know, and my parents at the front as if they had chaired a committee to forgive me publicly. Everyone clapped. Actual applause. I stood in the doorway with rain on my coat and a boundary in my purse, and for 3 seconds I was 16 again, carrying plates for people who smiled only after I served them. Mom rushed over first. "Surprise!" I said. "This is not what you told me." Her smile twitched. "We wanted you to feel loved." Tessa appeared with a champagne flute. "Do not be weird. We are celebrating you." My father lifted his glass from the front. "There she is. Our successful girl." The room cheered. I hated how much part of me wanted to believe them. The event manager, a woman named Amelia, stood near the service station reviewing a tablet. I knew her professionally. We had worked together once on a charity luncheon. Her eyes met mine, and something flickered there. Recognition, then question. She did not approach immediately. Good managers wait for the room to reveal itself. I took my seat at the head table because all the chairs had eyes. There were shrimp towers, prime rib carving station, past crab cakes, truffle potatoes, mini desserts, a champagne package, and an open bar already halfway through its first wave. Someone had ordered upgraded linens. Someone had ordered gold chargers. Someone had ordered the custom cake. Someone had built a bill with my name on top. The question was whether my name was on the contract. For 20 minutes, I listened. That was my first job. Not speaking. Listening. People will tell you the plan if they think the plan is already working. Aunt Marla said, "It is so good of you to bring everyone back together." I had brought no one. Uncle Dean said, "Your father really went all out." My father had not paid for anything yet. Tessa leaned across the table and whispered, "You have to admit, it looks amazing. My design eye helped." There it was, her design eye. My bank account in their imagination. I asked, "Who booked the room?" Tessa blinked. Mom handled details. Mom, hearing her name from across the table, lifted her champagne. "Family project, what does that mean?" Dad cut in. "It means stop auditing your own party." A few people laughed. The old joke. Lena and her spreadsheets. Lena and her questions. Lena making love feel like paperwork. Except paperwork is what keeps love from becoming fraud. A waiter named Mateo placed sparkling water beside me. I had not ordered it. Amelia had probably sent it because she remembered what I drank during vendor events. Small mercy in a loud room. "Thank you," I said. Mateo looked young, maybe 22, with tired eyes and careful hands. "Of course." As he turned, I saw the event folder tucked at the service station. A black leather binder with Willowmere's gold logo and a white contract summary clipped inside the front pocket. The top line showed an event number, WMG 4489. The payer line was hidden under a paperclip. I knew enough to wait. Dinner rolled forward. Dad ordered another round of the premium bourbon for the table. Tessa sent back the champagne because it was not cold enough. Aunt Marla asked if the cake had real gold leaf because Lena likes quality. I sat with my sparkling water and watched the cost climb like a fire running up curtains. Then Dad gave his first speech. He stood under the banner and said, "2 years ago, this family went through a difficult season. Mistakes were made. Feelings were hurt. But tonight is about moving forward, and Lena's success gives us all a reason to be proud again. Mistakes were made. No subject. No apology. And my success gave them a reason. Not me. My success." The pressure started during salads. It came softly, like steam under a door. Mom touched my wrist and said, "It feels good to have everyone together, doesn't it?" Cousin Marla said, "You must be doing very well now." Uncle Dean asked if my company gave bonuses for promotions. Tessa said, "Do not be rude," in the tone of someone who wanted the answer. Dad said nothing, which meant he was waiting for the right moment. The right moment came when Amelia approached with the leather invoice folder. She stopped beside my father because he was the event contact in the room. "Mr. Morris, we will be closing the bar package in 15 minutes unless you would like to extend service." Dad glanced at me, then at the table. "Extend it. We are celebrating." Amelia's expression did not change. "Of course. That will add 900 to the final." 900? Mom whispered. Dad smiled too loudly. "Worth it. Then he pointed across the room at me with the same casual confidence of a man ordering something under warranty. She's the guest of honor. She's paying, obviously. The whole room heard him. Tessa laughed into her glass. Aunt Marla clapped once. Uncle Dean said, "That's the spirit." Mom's eyes filled with proud tears as if my father had just announced a blessing instead of a bill. I looked at Amelia. Her eyes stayed on mine for exactly 1 second. That was enough. I said, "I need to freshen up." Mom exhaled because she thought the line had landed. Dad looked pleased. Tessa mouthed, "Told you to Kayla." I set my napkin on the table and walked toward the hallway, but I did not go to the restroom. I walked to the service station. Amelia followed 2 steps behind me. Matteo paused with a tray in his hand, reading the room like every good server learns to do. When we reached the hallway, Amelia spoke first. "Lena, are you the authorized payer for this event?" "No." "Did you sign the contract?" "No." "Did you approve charges to a house account or corporate account?" "No." Her jaw tightened. "Then we need to correct something." Amelia opened the folder on a side table. The contract summary was clear. Event title, Lena Promotion Celebration, guest count 24. Primary contact, Renee Morris. On-site host, Calvin Morris. Deposit card, Calvin Morris. Estimated total, $6,875 before extensions, tax, service fee, and gratuity. Then I saw the note that explained everything. Payment instructions. Daughter Lena will settle final balance. Family host states she approved as gift. I stared at the sentence. Family host states, not Lena signed. Not card on file, not written authorization. Just my mother or father telling the venue I would pay when the moment came. Amelia pointed to the note. "This should have been verified." "I apologize. You did not write the lie. No, but my team accepted it." "Your team accepted a statement from the host. That happens. Now we fix it." She looked relieved and angry on my behalf. "How do you want to proceed?" I said 2 sentences. Calm, low, exact. "I am not the client of record, and I will not be covering this event tonight. Please present the full balance to the hosts listed on the contract, and separate only my sparkling water onto my own check with a proper tip for the staff." Matteo's eyes widened. Amelia nodded once. "Done." Then she added, "Do you want security nearby?" I almost said no because women like me are trained to minimize scenes even while standing inside one. Then I looked through the hallway into the Rose Room, at 23 people eating under my name, and remembered Priya's sticky note, "Bring a boundary, not a wallet." "Yes," I said, quietly. Amelia processed my sparkling water at the service counter. I added a tip that made Matteo blink twice. He whispered, "Thank you." "No," I said. "Thank you for doing your job in a room full of people pretending I had one." He smiled then. Quick and real, I returned to the table carrying only my receipt. No one noticed. They were too busy ordering another round. The next 12 minutes were almost peaceful. That is the strange thing about a boundary once it is placed outside the room. You can sit among people who think they still own you and feel the door quietly unlocking behind your back. Dad told a story about my childhood work ethic. In his version, I had always been ambitious. In reality, I had been tired. Mom told the table I used to organize pantry shelves by expiration date. Everyone laughed. Tessa said I had turned bossy into a career. Everyone laughed again. I drank sparkling water. The bar extension ended. Dessert plates cleared. The cake was cut. The banner sagged slightly on one side, like even it was tired of holding my name over their performance. Then Amelia entered with the invoice folder. She did not walk to me. She walked to my father. Conversation thinned as people noticed. Dad looked up, still smiling. Amelia placed the folder directly in front of him and said, "Mr. Morris, here is the final balance for tonight's event." Dad glanced at the folder, then at me. The smile stayed a second too long. "Oh, Lena's handling that," he said. Amelia's voice remained warm and public. "Ms. Morris has paid for her individual beverage. The event contract lists you and Mrs. Morris as the hosts and your card as the deposit card. We will need the remaining balance from the contracted hosts." The room went silent. Tessa put down her fork. Mom whispered, "Amelia." We explained. Amelia opened the folder and turned one page. The note states that a family host expected Ms. Morris to settle. It does not include her signature, authorization, or payment method. We cannot charge a non-contracted guest for an event she did not authorize. Non-contracted guest. I could have kissed the legal department that wrote that policy. Dad's face hardened. This is a family matter. Amelia smiled. No, sir. This is an event contract. That sentence landed harder than shouting. Uncle Dean coughed. Aunt Marla looked at the cake. Tessa's friend Kayla began studying the carpet, like it had breaking news. Dad opened the folder and finally looked at the total, $8,236.40. The number had grown with the bar extension, service fee, tax, gratuity, cake cutting, premium package, and the celebration enhancement Tessa had apparently selected, which turned out to mean gold balloon arch and custom signage, $8,236.40 for a party I had been tricked into attending. Dad's hands tightened on the folder. Mom started speaking quickly. Lena, sweetheart, this is embarrassing. We wanted to make a special night for you. For me? I asked. Tessa snapped. Oh my God, do not start. I looked at the banner with my name. Did anyone ask what I wanted? It was a surprise, Mom said. No, a surprise is a cake. This was a bill. A few people shifted. That was the first crack. Dad pulled out a card and handed it to Amelia with a stiffness that told me he was performing again. Run this. Amelia took it. Of course. She left. Dad leaned toward me. You are really going to humiliate us like this? I kept my voice quiet. You booked a banquet under my name and told everyone I was paying. You brought the audience. Mom's tears started then, the visible kind, the kind designed to make the nearest woman hand her a napkin and take her side. Aunt Marla moved first, of course, passing tissues like evidence of compassion. Tessa hissed, This is exactly why we stopped talking to you. No, I said. You stopped talking to me because I would not fund your business. That is not fair. Neither is an $8,000 reconciliation invoice. Dad looked toward the door. Amelia returned. Her face told the room before her voice did. I'm sorry, Mr. Morris. That card did not approve the full balance. It authorized $2,000 only. Not declined. Worse, exposed. There was money but not enough. Enough to prove he intended the event. Not enough to pay for the performance. Dad tried a second card. $300. A third. Declined. Mom offered one from her purse. Declined. Tessa looked down at her lap and did not offer anything. The room was now listening with its whole body. My father's pride did not break all at once. It cracked along old lines. He said the bank must have flagged the charge. He said he would call in the morning. He said he was a long-time customer of fine establishments, which was strange because Willowmere had been open only 9 years, and he had never been there before that night. He said his daughter was causing confusion. He said family would handle it privately. Amelia listened, then said, The venue requires settlement before departure. If payment cannot be completed tonight, the contracted host may sign a payment agreement with finance, and the deposit card will remain on file. Contracted host, Agan, the words did their job. Uncle Dean muttered, Calvin, what is going on? Dad rounded on him. Nothing is going on. Mom dabbed her eyes. We were trying to bring our daughter back. I stood then, not dramatically, just enough that the room had to adjust its gaze upward. No, I said. You were trying to bring my paycheck back. That sentence changed the temperature. Tessa's face flushed. You think you are better than us because you have some fancy hotel job. I think I am allowed to decide what my money pays for. It was your party. It was your contract. Mom whispered, Lena, please. We cannot afford this. There it was, finally. Not the full truth, but a crack big enough for it to breathe. I looked at her. Then why did you order it? She opened her mouth, closed it. Dad slammed the folder shut. Because you owed us. After 2 years, you owed us one night. I nodded slowly. Thank you for saying it clearly. He looked confused. You did not invite me to celebrate. You invited me to settle a debt I never agreed to. Aunt Marla said, Lena, family does not talk like that. I turned to her. Family also does not create fake payment instructions. She had no answer. I picked up my purse. I paid my check. I tipped the staff. The rest belongs to the hosts. Dad stood. If you walk out that door, do not come back. The old threat. The one that used to work because I thought being outside the family was death. I looked at him. I already know the way out. I did not leave immediately. I turned to Amelia first. Is the staff taken care of? She nodded. The service charge is included, and your individual gratuity is noted. Good. Mateo was near the service station, pretending not to watch. I gave him a small nod. He gave one back. Then I faced the room. I am going to say this once. If any of you were told I planned this party, that is false. If any of you were told I offered to pay, that is false. If any of you came tonight believing this was reconciliation, ask yourselves why an apology required premium bar service, 23 guests, and no apology. No one spoke. Even Tessa looked down. I continued. I would have met my parents for coffee. I would have listened. I would have considered rebuilding slowly, but this was not rebuilding. This was a shakedown with centerpieces. A laugh escaped from someone near the back. It was Cousin June, who immediately covered her mouth. That small laugh mattered. It meant the performance had loosened enough for reality to enter. Mom cried harder. You are so cold. I looked at her. No, I am finally itemized. That was the last thing I said inside the Rose Room. The hallway outside smelled like coffee and floor polish. Behind me, voices rose. Dad demanding a manager above Amelia. Tessa saying she did not know the total. Uncle Dean asking why Dad booked something he could not afford. Mom saying she just wanted everyone together. Cousins whispering. Chairs moving. The sound did not pull me back. At the coat check, Mateo caught up with me. Ms. Morris? I turned. He held out my signed receipt. You forgot your copy. I took it. Thank you. He hesitated. My mom does stuff like that. Not with banquet rooms, but with making things my fault. I looked at this tired young man in a pressed black vest, holding more wisdom than half the adults in that room. Do not let her put your name on contracts you did not sign, I said. He smiled sadly. I will remember that. Outside, the rain had stopped. The parking lot shone under yellow lights. I sat in my car, pulled the sticky note from my cup holder, and read it again. Bring a boundary, not a wallet. I had. Then I drove home. The calls began before I reached the highway. Mom, Dad, Tessa, Aunt Marla, Dad again. Unknown number. Tessa again. The phone buzzed so many times it started to feel like a trapped insect in the passenger seat. I did not answer. At home, I changed into sweatpants, made tea, and opened my messages the way you open a walk-in cooler after a power outage. Carefully, prepared for smell, Tessa wrote first. You ruined my chance to show people I'm doing well. There it was. My promotion party had somehow become her image project, Dad wrote. You embarrassed your mother in front of everyone. Mom wrote, we wanted you back. Why do you punish love? Aunt Marla wrote, your parents are not perfect, but public humiliation was cruel. Uncle Dean wrote nothing. Cousin June wrote, that was wild. Also, sorry. I did not know. I replied only to June. Thank you. Then I turned my phone off. The next morning, Priya arrived with bagels and the expression of a woman ready to commit misdemeanors on my behalf. I told her everything. When I reached the part where Amelia said, this is an event contract, Priya stood and applauded in my kitchen. Hospitality justice, she said. It was awful, of course. Justice usually arrives with nausea. She was right. By Monday, the story had traveled through the family. In their version, I had refused to pay for my own celebration. Then I had embarrassed my parents over a misunderstanding. Then I had plotted with the venue manager because I work in events and wanted revenge. The story changed shape every time it needed to avoid one fact. They had booked the party without my authorization and tried to hand me the bill. Amelia emailed me a copy of my personal receipt and, separately, a polite note confirming I had not been the contracted host. She did not have to do that. She knew exactly why I might need it. I printed the note and put it in a folder labeled Boundaries, not because I wanted to fight. Because people who rewrite rooms often require paper afterward. 3 weeks later, my father called from a number I did not recognize. I answered because I was expecting a vendor. Lena, he said. I almost hung up. I did not. Not because he deserved my time, but because I trusted myself with an ending. What do you need? The question came out before hello. It was not rude. It was accurate. He inhaled sharply. Is that what you think of me? Yes. Silence. Then, quieter, the venue put us on a payment plan. I assumed they would. We had to cancel the trip to Gatlinburg. I did not know you had one planned. It was for your mother. I said nothing. He waited for guilt to cross the line and enter my voice. It did not, finally, he said. You could have helped without making us look poor. I closed my eyes. There it was. Not sorry we lied. Not sorry we used your name. Sorry the performance failed. Dad needing help is not shameful. Setting a trap is. You are twisting this. No, I am naming it. He laughed bitterly. Your promotion changed you. No, I said. My promotion gave you a reason to show me you had not. He hung up. Mom sent a letter after that. A physical one, written on floral stationery she used for sympathy cards. She said she missed me. She said Dad was proud but scared. She said Tessa felt humiliated. She said the family dinner had been misguided but came from love. She never used the word apology. She never said contract. She never said bill. I wrote back one page. Mom, if you want a relationship with me, it starts with one sentence. We were wrong to invite you under false pretenses and try to make you pay for an event you did not approve. Until you can write that without adding but, I am not available for family gatherings, financial help, or emotional repair. Lena. I mailed it before I could soften it. She did not respond for 5 months. Those 5 months were peaceful. Tessa responded in the most Tessa way possible. She posted a video about healing from financially controlling siblings while standing in front of a bookshelf she did not read from. She said some people use money to dominate families. She said success means nothing without generosity. She said she had learned to protect her energy from judgmental women. I watched 30 seconds, then closed it. The old me would have written a paragraph. The older old me would have called Mom crying. The new me texted Priya. Tessa has discovered ring lights again, Priya replied. May God protect the algorithm. That was the first time I laughed about the whole thing. Weeks later, Cousin June told me privately that Tessa had selected the balloon arch, upgraded the cake, and invited 6 extra people after Mom said the event needed to look worthy of Lena's new status, worthy of my status. Not worthy of me, another phrase for the folder. I started therapy again. Not because I was falling apart, but because I did not want survival to become my entire personality. Dr. Kwan listened as I described the party, the invoice, Amelia, the calls, the letter. Then she asked, What did you grieve? I wanted to say nothing. I was fine. I had won. I had done the right thing. But winning and grieving can sit at the same table. I grieved the dinner I thought I was going to. I said, that was the truth. I had not expected a perfect apology. But I had allowed myself to imagine 4 people at a table, maybe awkward, maybe emotional, maybe my mother saying, We missed you, without a bill hiding under the breadbasket. That dinner never existed. I had to grieve a thing that was never real. Dr. Kwan said, That is often the hardest kind. She was right. The promotion party changed how I handled everything at work. I became more precise about authorization. No verbal payment transfers. No family member signing on behalf of another adult without written consent. No, she said she would handle it, notes, without direct confirmation. My team thought I was tightening policy because of a client incident. In a way, I was. One afternoon, Matteo applied for a server position at one of our hotels. His reference from Willowmere was excellent. I recognized his name immediately. During the interview, I did not mention the Rose Room. Neither did he until the end. He said, that night made me want to work somewhere people protect staff from messy tables. I said, we try. Do you always? No, but we fix it when we fail. He nodded. That sounds better than pretending. We hired him. 6 months later, he became one of our best banquet captains. He could read a room from across a ballroom. He knew when a smile meant celebration and when it meant pressure. Some people learn hospitality by carrying plates. Some learn it by surviving their families. Matteo, I suspected, had done both. My mother finally wrote the sentence in December. We were wrong to invite you under false pretenses and try to make you pay for an event you did not approve. No, but, she added, we wanted your success to fix our shame. That was not fair. I sat at my kitchen table for a long time with the letter in front of me. It was not enough to rebuild a family. But it was the first honest brick I had seen from her in years. I wrote back slowly, thank you for saying it clearly. I am willing to have coffee in January. Just coffee. No guests. No financial conversation. She agreed. Dad did not come. Tessa did not come. Mom and I met at a bakery. She ordered tea. I ordered sparkling water because some habits become symbols when you earn them. We talked for 42 minutes. She cried once. I did not rescue her from it. That was new. Coffee did not fix us. It proved a different kind of meeting was possible. Possible is not healed. Possible is a door unlocked from both sides. There is a part I did not understand until later. The party was not only about money. It was about restoring the old order in front of witnesses. If I had paid, the room would have clapped again, Mom would have hugged me, Dad would have called me his successful girl, and Tessa would have posted photos about family healing. The bill would have been the proof that I was back where they wanted me. Useful, grateful, quiet. That is why the audience mattered. They did not need 23 people for dinner. They needed 23 people to make my refusal feel impossible. Families that rely on pressure understand stagecraft. They know a private no can be repeated. A public no feels like betrayal because everyone sees the system fail. My father did not want my help. He wanted my surrender documented by appetizers. When Dr. Kwan asked what I felt as Amelia placed the folder in front of Dad, I expected to say satisfaction, but the first feeling was sadness. He looked old in that moment, not evil, not monstrous, just old, scared, and cornered by his own performance. I had spent my childhood believing my father was bigger than circumstances. That night, circumstances were bigger than him. It is difficult to watch a parent become human and still refuse to let them use you. The child in me wanted to save him from embarrassment. The adult in me knew embarrassment was the only honest guest at that party. It had arrived late, but it had a reservation. The venue became almost mythic in my family afterward. Depending on who told the story, Willowmere was either too strict, too expensive, or secretly in league with me. Aunt Marla insisted Amelia had humiliated Dad on purpose. Uncle Dean said Dad humiliated himself by booking premium bar service with a tired credit card. Cousin June told me privately that half the table had assumed I was paying from the moment they walked in. The other half had been told directly by Tessa. That mattered. It meant the trap was not invisible. It had simply been acceptable. Cousin June said, I should have said something when I saw the banner. Yes, I said. She flinched, but I did not soften it. People apologize differently when you do not rescue them from the discomfort of being late. June tried again. I am sorry I enjoyed the dinner before asking who it was costing. That was better. I accepted that apology because it named the behavior, not my reaction. That became my standard. Real apologies name what happened. Fake apologies name how badly you responded. My father apologized only to his own pride. Tessa apologized to her online followers for having been misunderstood. My mother eventually apologized to the facts. Facts are important. Facts are where repair can begin. Not emotion, not tears. Not, we all made mistakes. Facts, we invited you under false pretenses. We tried to make you pay. We did not apologize before asking. We were wrong. When people skip facts, they are asking you to build a bridge over fog. I do not build in fog anymore. I wait for the ground to show. The coffee with my mother in January was awkward enough to be real. She arrived 15 minutes early and had already chosen a table near the window, which annoyed me until I realized she had chosen the table farthest from other people. No audience, no relatives, no performance. That was something. She looked smaller without Dad's voice beside hers. Her hands moved around the teacup as if she needed something to manage. I did miss you, she said. I wanted to say, not enough to call without a bill attached. I did not. Not because it was untrue, but because truth is a tool, and I did not need that blade right then. I missed parts of you, I said. She nodded, accepting the precision like medicine. For 42 minutes, we talked about safe things first. Weather, work, her neighbor's dog. Then she said, when you left the group chat 2 years ago, I thought you were punishing us. You removed me first. Her face changed. Your father did. You let it stand. She looked at the table. Yes. That yes was small. It mattered anyway. I asked her why she agreed to the party. She did not answer quickly. That was how I knew she might tell the truth. Your father was embarrassed, she said. The shop debts. Tessa, the house. He kept saying you would help if we could just get you in the room. And you believed him? I wanted to. That was not an excuse. It was a confession of convenience, she continued. I also wanted everyone to see you were back. I thought if the family saw us together, it would be harder for you to leave again. I looked at her for a long time, so the audience was not accidental. No, finally. A true sentence. It hurt. It healed nothing by itself. But it made the room honest for one breath. I said, do not ever use a crowd to hold me again. She nodded. Coffee ended after that. We did not hug in the parking lot. We said goodbye like people learning a new language badly but trying. Dad's apology never came, but his legend changed. That surprised me. For years, he had controlled family stories by being the loudest person with the strongest opinion. After Willowmere, volumes stopped working the same way. Everyone had seen the folder. Everyone had heard Amelia. Everyone had watched his cards fail to cover what he had ordered. He could still call me ungrateful. He could still call the venue unfair. But he could not say he had not signed. He could not say the party was just for me. He could not say I surprised him with cruelty when his own payment instructions existed in print. Paper had narrowed his lie. That is all paper has to do sometimes. It does not need to convert everyone. It just makes the lie work harder. Tessa hated that most. She thrives in soft-focused stories where intention matters more than impact. In her version, she wanted to honor me. In the contract, she had selected gold signage, extra dessert, and premium champagne under guest of honor preferences without asking me. In her video, I was controlling. In the emails Amelia later shared through the official event file, Tessa wrote, "Make it look expensive so she understands we believe in her. Make it look expensive." That line stayed with me. They did not believe in me. They believed in the visual language of my money. Expensive room, expensive food, expensive applause, expensive forgiveness. They thought if the party looked rich enough, I would accept the role of funder to avoid looking poor in spirit. But the richest thing I did that night was pay for only what I ordered. A glass of water. A clear conscience, a door out. I started using the phrase, "not my table" at work. Not publicly at first, just with Priya. When a department tried to push an unapproved expense onto events, I would forward the policy and text her, "Not my table." When a vendor claimed someone had verbally approved an upgrade, I would ask for the written authorization. Not my table. When Tessa's name appeared on my phone after months of silence, I looked at it, breathed once, and did not answer. Not my table, it became more than a joke. For years, I had lived like every table was mine. If someone was hungry, I served. If someone was short, I paid. If someone was embarrassed, I smoothed the cloth and dimmed the lights. That night taught me that adulthood begins when you stop sitting down at bills created by other people's choices. Not every emergency is an invitation. Not every invitation is honest. Not every family table deserves your chair. One evening, Matteo stayed late after a banquet and found me reviewing invoices in the office. He said, "Can I ask something personal?" I said yes. He told me his mother wanted him to co-sign a car loan because his credit was better than hers. He was 19, supporting himself and terrified that saying no made him a bad son. I did not tell him what to do. People in pressure need clarity, not commands. I asked, "If she stops paying, can you afford the loan?" "No." "Are you willing to pay it to keep peace?" He looked down. "No, then the answer is already there. You are not deciding whether you love her. You are deciding whether to sign a contract." He did not co-sign. 2 weeks later, he told me she was furious, then fine, then looking at cheaper cars. Adults locate options when children stop becoming guarantees. I wish someone had taught me that earlier. Maybe now I was teaching it to him. The strangest thing about boundaries is how ordinary life becomes afterward. No lightning. No parade. No music. The morning after you refuse an $8,000 ambush, you still need groceries. Your laundries still waits. Your calendar still fills. Your heart still hurts when your mother's name appears on a screen. But the ordinary begins to feel different. I bought groceries the Sunday after Willowmere and realized I was not mentally calculating how much I could spare if Mom called. I filled my car with gas and did not wonder whether Dad needed money for his truck. I paid my mortgage and felt, for the first time in years, that my money had stayed where I put it. That may sound small if you have never been the family bank. If you have, you know it is enormous. Financial peace is not just having money. It is knowing your money will not be summoned by someone else's drama before you can decide what it means to you. It is opening your banking app without remembering a cousin's emergency. It is buying yourself dinner without hearing a ghost say, "Must be nice." It is saving for retirement without feeling like you are hoarding love. I had to learn that refusing to fund chaos is not greed. It is stewardship. My father loved that word when it served him. Stewardship. Family stewardship. Responsible stewardship. That night, I finally practiced it on myself. I stewarded my labor, my peace, my future, And yes, my money, because every dollar I kept was an hour of my life I did not hand back to people who confused access with affection. 6 months later, Willowmere called me for a professional reason. Their corporate office wanted my hotel group to consult on banquet authorization procedures because of a recent guest billing complication. Amelia did not say it was my family. She did not have to. I accepted the meeting. We built a new policy together. Direct written confirmation from any proposed third-party payer, mandatory ID match for final balance transfers, event host responsibility highlighted at booking, and staff training for financial coercion disguised as celebration. The policy was boring, legal, and beautiful. At the training, I told the staff, if a guest says someone else is paying, that someone else gets to say so directly. Embarrassment is cheaper than fraud. Mateo, now in our hotel group, sat in the back and grinned. That was the best outcome I did not expect. My family's trap became a better system for strangers. Somewhere, months later, another person would walk into another event and not be cornered into a bill they did not authorize because a 19-year-old waiter, a sharp manager, and one woman with a boundary helped change a policy. That felt better than revenge. Revenge is personal. Systems are generous. They protect people who never know your name. The old me would have paid the bill and cried alone. The new me refused the bill, changed the policy, and still cried sometimes. Both things can be true. Healing does not mean the story stops hurting. It means the hurt stops making your decisions. I still keep the Willowmere receipt in my boundaries folder. It is almost funny to look at now. 1 sparkling water, 2 refills, a generous tip. My whole night reduced to a line item small enough to fit on 1 receipt. The banquet invoice is not in that folder. I do not need it. It was never mine. That distinction matters more than the amount. For a long time, I carried emotional invoices that were never mine either. Dad's pride, Mom's fear, Tessa's unfinished dreams, relatives' opinions, the family story, the silence after I said no. I carried all of it like a server balancing plates that belonged to every table except her own. That night, for the first time, I delivered each plate back to the person who ordered it. Dad ordered a performance he could not afford. Mom ordered reconciliation without accountability. Tessa ordered applause for a sister she still resented. The relatives ordered a free celebration and received an education. I ordered sparkling water, so that is what I paid for. If you are listening while carrying a bill you did not create, I hope you understand the difference before it empties you. Compassion is beautiful. Support is beautiful. Generosity can be holy when it is chosen freely. But guilt is not a payment plan. Shame is not a contract. Love is not proven by covering every charge someone else racks up in your name. The next time someone says, family takes care of family, ask them who has been taking care of you. Ask it calmly. Ask it early. And if the answer is silence, do not reach for your wallet. Reach for the door. I do not know whether my father will ever understand that night. Maybe he will always remember the declined cards more clearly than the lie that put them on the table. Maybe my mother will keep calling it a misunderstanding when she is tired. Maybe Tessa will always believe my success became real only when it could be converted into rescue. That is their work. Mine is smaller and harder, not volunteering to finish it. Some days I still want the easy version of family. The one with cornbread, birthday candles, and people who ask about your life before asking about your limit. But wanting something does not make it available, and unavailable love becomes dangerous when you keep paying deposits on it. I am done reserving rooms for people who never plan to meet me honestly. Now, when I attend dinner, I ask who is coming. I ask who booked. I ask what has been ordered. Not because I am cold. Because clarity is warm to the part of me that survived confusion. I trust that warmth now. Fully. I still do not attend large family events. Not because I am afraid of them, but because I no longer confuse exposure with closeness. A room full of relatives can still be lonely if everyone is waiting for you to resume your old job. I see Mom sometimes. Dad has not apologized. Tessa sent one message after she needed help moving, and I declined. She wrote, "Must be nice having boundaries when everyone else has problems." I replied, "It is." Then I blocked her for a month because growth does not require unlimited access. The payment plan at Willowmere took my parents 9 months. Aunt Marla contributed, which shocked me, until I learned she had eaten 3 lobster portions and felt morally implicated. Uncle Dean sent $50 and a note that said, "I should have asked who was paying before dessert." It was not an apology exactly, but it was closer to accountability than most of them had ever come. The banner with my name was thrown away. The cake was eaten. The debt was paid. The lesson stayed. People ask if I regret going. I do not. If I had stayed home, I might have spent years wondering whether they were ready. That night answered me. Not completely, but clearly enough. They were not ready to love me without use. My mother may be learning. My father may never. Tessa is still Tessa, and I am still Lena, only now I know this. Being successful does not make you responsible for everyone who preferred you silent. Near the end of this video, I want to ask you something directly. I pinned a question in the comments. If your family invited you to make amends, but expected you to pay a huge bill, would you walk out or help them? Go to that pinned comment and tell me your honest opinion. I want to know what you would do. And if this story reached you, please like this video and subscribe to She Chose Herself. Your support helps this reach another person who is being treated like the family credit card instead of a human being. My parents invited me to celebrate my promotion. They handed me a bill they created. I paid for 1 sparkling water and tipped the staff. Everything else went to the people who signed. That was not revenge. That was accounting. And for once, the balance was correct.